morning, everyone. Today we have a special guest in class. This is my friend Bevo, and I have brought Bevo with me to school today because he reminds me a lot of the character in the story that we're going to be reading today, the story of Ferdinand. I'm going to read you the story, and everybody pay attention because I'm going to ask some questions, and then whenever I'm done reading the story, we're going to have a fun activity to do. This story is called The Story of Ferdinand by Munro with drawings by Robert Lawson. Once upon a time in Spain, there was a little bull, and his name was Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. Can somebody tell me what the little bull's name was? That's right, his name was Ferdinand. Who can tell me where Ferdinand lived? Yes, he lived in Spain. Good job. He liked to sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under a cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. Can you explain to me why Ferdinand liked to sit under the cork tree and smell the flowers? That's right, he just liked to sit there and smell the flowers, and it made him happy. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head, she would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here where I can sit just quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. There they are looking at a sign for the bullfights in Madrid. They've got band-aids and bandages on them from fighting. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to sit just quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. Who can tell me how Ferdinand is different now than he was when he was a little bull? And also, who could tell me how he's the same now as when he was a little bull? Yes, that's right. He still likes to sit and smell the flowers, and he's different because he's bigger and stronger. Good job. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. There's the men with their funny hats. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very, very strong and fierce and pick them. There's the other bulls showing off for the men. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, so he didn't care. He went to his favorite cork tree to sit down. If you were a bull, do you think that you would want to be picked to be in the bullfights in Madrid like the other bulls, or would you not care like Ferdinand? Yes. That's good. That's a good answer. You wouldn't care because you don't like to fight. Very good. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him, and that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Look. Wow, did it hurt! Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting and butting and pawing the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Here was the largest, fiercest bull of all, just the one for the bullfight in Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. And there's the cart, and they're leading Ferdinand to the bullfights. What a day it was! Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. They had a parade in the bull ring. First came the banderillos with long sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. There they are. Next came the picadors, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. There's the matador. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. There's Ferdinand peeking in the gate. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the banderillos were afraid of him, and the picadors were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped, because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. Here he comes. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers and all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. There's Ferdinand sitting, just smelling the flowers. He wouldn't fight and be fierce no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled. And the banderillos were mad, and the picadors were madder, and the matador was so mad that he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. There they are, trying everything they can do to get Ferdinand to fight, but he's just sitting there. So they had to take Ferdinand home. Now you see Ferdinand riding back home in the cart. And for all I know, he is still sitting there under his favorite court tree, smelling the flowers, just quietly. He is very happy. The end. In this book, Ferdinand shows us that it's okay to be different. It is okay to not like the same things as other people or bulls. Everyone is different, and the most important thing is to be happy. Can someone tell me how we could apply this way of thinking in our own lives? That's great. We can agree to disagree with a friend. We don't always have to like the same things as our friends. Good job. Okay, now that we've read the story Ferdinand, we're going to do a fun activity. We're going to create something. Who can tell me what Ferdinand liked to do in this story? That's right, he liked to sit under the cork tree and smell the flowers. Today we are going to create our own happiness flowers. I will pass out each of you a copy of a flower, this copy right here. What I want you to do is, on the stems and the leaf of the flower, I want you to write down all the different things that makes you happy. And here's an example of one that I made to show you. I have reading, my son, family, shopping, holidays. And once you write things on the stem and the leaf that make you happy, I want you to draw a picture in the middle of the flower of the thing that makes you the most happiest of all. And once we all get done with our flowers, we're going to make a mural of Ferdinand's pasture, and we're going to put all of our happiness flowers on them, and Ferdinand is going to have a whole pasture full of happiness flowers that he can sit and smell, and it will be our very own pasture full of pictures of things that make us happy. Okay, I'm going to pass these out now and you can all get started.